The phone rang at midnight, slicing through the silence like glass. Emily said, "Hello?" Her voice trembled as a stranger whispered, "He proposed to me tonight." She froze, staring at the diamond ring on her hand, her world collapsing. Mark stirred beside her, muttering her name, but she could not breathe. Emily whispered, "Who is this?" The voice on the other end laughed, cold and mocking, the woman he swore he loved. Emily's chest tightened as the line went dead. She turned toward Mark, watching him sleep peacefully, his hand resting on her pillow as though nothing had changed. Fear, anger, and disbelief tangled in her chest. She remembered how he knelt under the city lights 2 weeks ago, promising forever, his smile lighting up her soul. Now, it all felt like poison. Emily whispered to herself, "Is this real?" She touched her ring, once a dream, now burning against her skin like a curse. The clock ticked louder, the night darker, and her heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. The night felt endless as Emily replayed the voice in her head, words slicing deeper than knives. She glanced at Mark and whispered, "Tell me this isn't true." His chest rose and fell with steady calm, unaware of the storm beside him. Emily gripped the sheets, her thoughts clawing at the memory of his proposal. She remembered the fairy lights, the laughter, the crowd cheering as he promised eternity. Now, she felt like a fool wrapped in lies. Emily whispered, "Who are you really, Mark?" She touched her phone again, desperate to call back, but the number was blocked. Silence swallowed her cries as the ticking clock echoed louder. Her tears burned, staining her pillow, but Mark shifted slightly, his hand brushing hers, as if unconsciously mocking her pain. Emily shut her eyes, torn between waking him or running into the night. Fear held her captive, and the room suffocated with betrayal she could not yet prove. Emily rose before dawn, her eyes swollen from sleepless hours. She walked quietly to the bathroom, clutching the phone as if it were cursed. She stared into the mirror, whispering, "I trusted you." Her reflection looked foreign, a stranger broken by betrayal. The faint sound of Mark's snore drifted down the hall, steady, careless, while Emily felt her soul unravel. She scrolled through call logs, desperate for a trace, but the number was hidden, taunting her with its secrecy. Emily said, "You don't get to vanish." She splashed cold water on her face, trembling, as if cleansing a wound that would not heal. The air carried heavy silence, every creak in the house magnified, a haunting reminder of the double life she feared existed. Her chest ached with questions she could not silence, and her reflection whispered back doubts she was too afraid to speak aloud. Emily returned to the bedroom, her footsteps soft, her heart louder than any sound. She stood over Mark, watching him sleep, as though nothing had shifted. She whispered, "Do you even love me?" His chest rose calmly, a cruel reminder of her turmoil. She touched his arm lightly, her hand trembling, craving reassurance that never came. Memories of their first kiss, his laughter, their plans for the future clawed at her heart. Emily said, "I believed every word." Her tears threatened again, but she bit her lip, swallowing the storm. She wanted to scream, to shake him awake, to demand truth, yet fear chained her. His face looked so peaceful, so unshaken, while hers was carved with dread. The room felt like a coffin, love buried beneath suspicion, trust suffocating in silence. The first rays of morning pierced the blinds, casting sharp lines across Emily's face. She sat at the foot of the bed, staring at the ring glinting in the pale light. She whispered, "This was supposed to be my dream." The weight of those words crushed her, for dreams now felt like lies carved in diamonds. Mark stirred, stretching, oblivious to the storm raging inches away. He said, "Morning, love," his voice warm and easy, the same voice that once comforted her. Emily's throat tightened. She forced a smile, hiding the battlefield in her chest. She answered, "Morning." Her voice cracked, betraying her mask. He kissed her cheek lightly, unaware she was drowning. The room filled with light, but for Emily, shadows clung to her heart, whispering truths she feared to confront. Emily sat at the kitchen table, her coffee untouched, her eyes tracing the steam as though it carried answers. Mark walked in, tying his tie, smiling. Big day at work. She forced a nod, but her chest tightened. She whispered, "You came home late last night." Mark paused, then laughed it off. "Project deadlines, you know how it is." His words slid off his tongue too easily, too polished, like a line rehearsed. Emily studied his face, searching for cracks, but his charm remained smooth. She remembered the whisper on the phone, a stranger's claim echoing louder than his excuses. Emily said softly, "You always seem so tired lately." He kissed her forehead, murmuring, "That's life." Her heart screamed, but her lips stayed sealed. The ticking clock on the wall sounded like a countdown, each second pressing harder against her doubts. She sipped the cold coffee, her stomach knotted with suspicion, her trust thinning like fragile glass. Later that afternoon, Emily checked Mark's jacket pocket while folding laundry, her hands trembling. She found a crumpled receipt from an upscale restaurant, dated last night. Her breath hitched. She whispered, "You weren't working." The name scrawled at the bottom was unfamiliar, but intimate, signed with a heart. Her knees weakened, and she gripped the fabric tightly. Mark called from the other room. "Babe, have you seen my watch?" She quickly shoved the receipt back, her pulse racing. "No," she said, her voice thin. She stared at the laundry basket, every shirt and sock a reminder of her devotion, now poisoned with doubt. She whispered, "What are you hiding, Mark?" She wanted to scream, but fear anchored her silence. The laundry machine hummed softly, a cruel mockery of domestic normalcy, while Emily's world cracked under invisible weight. Emily met her friend Claire at a cafe that evening, her voice low as she said, "Something's wrong with Mark." Claire leaned forward, her brows furrowed. "What happened?" Emily showed her the receipt, hands shaking. Claire's eyes narrowed, her tone sharp. "That doesn't look like work." Emily whispered, "He proposed, and now, this." Her voice cracked, and Claire reached across the table, squeezing her hand. "You deserve honesty." The cafe around them buzzed with laughter and clinking cups, but Emily felt detached, drowning in fear. She whispered, "Maybe I'm overthinking." Claire shook her head firm. "No, don't let him twist you into silence." Emily nodded weakly, staring at her reflection in the coffee's dark surface. It looked like a stranger's face, someone unraveling quietly while the world moved on around her. That night, Emily confronted Mark gently as he returned home. She asked, "Were you at dinner last night?" He froze, then smirked. "We had a client meeting, fancy place." His tone was smooth, but his eyes flickered too quickly. Emily's heart pounded. "You didn't mention it," she said, her voice sharp but wavering. Mark laughed softly, pouring himself a drink. "Not everything is worth reporting." His casual dismissal burned through her chest. She clenched her fists, remembering Claire's warning. She whispered, "I just want honesty." Mark's eyes hardened for a split second, then softened, masking the storm beneath. He kissed her cheek and whispered, "You worry too much." His touch felt foreign, his words hollow. Emily smiled faintly, but her insides screamed. Silence filled the room, suffocating, heavier than any truth. The following day, Emily answered the door to a young woman delivering a package. The woman smiled politely, asking, "Is Mark home?" Emily froze, her throat tightening. "No," she replied carefully. The woman nodded, leaving a small box with Mark's name written in bold. Emily asked, "Do you know him?" The woman shrugged. "I've seen him around. He's friendly." Something in her tone felt pointed, unsettling. Emily closed the door quickly, clutching the box as if it burned her hands. She whispered, "Another crack." Mark walked in minutes later, smiling casually. "Package for me?" Emily handed it over with shaking fingers, watching his face for clues. He smiled too easily, too quickly, and her heart sank. The walls of their home felt like they were closing in, filled with secrets she could no longer deny. Emily sat in her car outside Mark's office, her hands gripping the steering wheel tightly. She whispered, "Please just prove me wrong." The parking lot was half empty, and the late evening sky bled orange into shadows. Mark exited the building, laughing with a woman Emily had never seen before. He placed his hand briefly on the woman's back as they walked. Emily's heart pounded. She ducked low, her breath shaking. The woman leaned in, whispering something that made Mark smile in a way Emily hadn't seen in weeks. Emily said to herself, "That's not business." She gripped the leather tighter until her knuckles whitened. Every memory of his reassurances replayed in her head, clashing with the undeniable sight before her. She muttered, "You liar." Tears blurred her vision as she fought the urge to confront him. Instead, she started the engine softly, letting the hum drown out her sobs. Back at home, Emily replayed the image in her mind, pacing the living room. She said aloud, "He lied to my face." Her phone buzzed with a text from Mark, "Working late again, don't wait up." She almost screamed, throwing the phone onto the couch. She whispered bitterly, "You weren't working." She stared at the framed photo of their proposal night, fairy lights glowing behind their smiling faces, and it mocked her. She grabbed the frame and set it face down, her hands trembling. She muttered, "What else are you hiding?" The silence around her pressed in like heavy walls. Every creak of the floor, every hum of the refrigerator seemed louder in her ears. Her reflection in the darkened window looked like a stranger trapped in her own home. She whispered again, "I can't keep pretending this is love." Emily called Claire the next morning, her voice unsteady. "I saw him with another woman." Claire's voice sharpened. "Who was she?" Emily shook her head, though Claire couldn't see. "I don't know. But he touched her like they were more than coworkers." Claire sighed heavily. "Emily, this isn't small anymore. You need answers." Emily said, "What if he just tells me another lie?" Her voice broke. Claire's reply was firm. "Then you'll know the truth through his fear." Emily's hands trembled around the phone. She whispered, "I'm scared of what I'll find." Claire softened. "You deserve better than this silence." Emily leaned against the wall, her tears quiet but endless, realizing she was slipping further into a maze of deception, where every turn cut deeper. That evening, Emily confronted Mark directly, her voice sharp. "Who was she?" Mark froze mid-step, loosening his tie slowly. "What are you talking about?" he asked with forced calm. Emily's eyes burned. "The woman outside your office. I saw you." His jaw tightened, but he smirked faintly. "A coworker, nothing more." Emily snapped, "You touched her like she was more." His smirk faded, replaced by irritation. "You're imagining things," he said flatly. Emily's breath hitched, anger mixing with despair. She whispered, "Stop making me feel crazy." Mark sighed heavily, pouring himself a drink, his voice colder. "If you keep doubting me, this won't work." Emily stood frozen, her trust unraveling thread by thread, realizing his lies were thicker than the air between them. Later that night, Emily sat alone in the backyard, wrapped in a blanket beneath the cold stars. She whispered, "I'm losing myself." The ring on her finger glistened under the moonlight, a cruel reminder of promises now hollow. She remembered the stranger's voice, mocking, "He proposed to me tonight." Her stomach turned. She whispered, "Who are you really, Mark?" Every rustle of the trees felt like whispers of betrayal. She pressed her hands against her face, suffocating in silence, but tears broke free anyway. The world outside felt vast, but she was trapped in lies. She whispered to the night, "I need the truth." Her voice cracked into the emptiness, swallowed by the dark, but deep inside, determination sparked faintly through the despair, whispering that she couldn't run from the storm forever. Emily sat at her desk scrolling through Mark's laptop, her hands trembling. She whispered, "Please let me be wrong." Her eyes widened as she found a hidden folder labeled "Personal." Inside were photos of Mark smiling with the same woman she had seen outside his office. They weren't business shots, they were intimate moments, dinners, vacations, and stolen embraces. Emily's breath broke. She muttered, "He's living another life." Tears blurred her vision as she scrolled further. She found messages filled with affection, signed with love, promises of forever, words he had once given her. Emily whispered, "He proposed to both of us." Her chest tightened with betrayal so sharp it felt like a knife twisting inside. She closed the laptop, gasping for air, her heart collapsing beneath the weight of undeniable proof. When Mark returned home, Emily confronted him, clutching the laptop. Her voice cracked. "Who is she?" Mark froze, his jaw stiff, then smirked faintly. "You shouldn't be snooping." Emily shouted, "Answer me!" Her hands shook as she pointed at the photos. Mark's tone shifted cold. "She means nothing." Emily's tears spilled. "Nothing? You promised her forever." He grabbed the laptop, snapping it shut, and barked, "Don't twist this." Emily's breath shuddered, fury flooding her veins. She whispered, "You're a liar." Mark clenched his fists, his charm stripped bare, replaced with sharp anger. The room thickened with silence heavier than screams. Emily felt her world split, no longer a suspicion, but a truth too brutal to deny. Emily collapsed onto the couch, her voice breaking. "How long has this been going on?" Mark paced the room, his hand dragging across his face. He muttered, "It's complicated." Emily spat back, "No, it's betrayal." Her tears fell freely, her chest heaving with anguish. Mark's voice grew sharp. "You don't understand," she snapped. "Then explain it." Silence pressed in, his excuses evaporating into thin air. Emily whispered, "I built my life around you, and you destroyed it." Mark sighed heavily, avoiding her gaze, his mask cracking under her fury. Emily wrapped her arms around herself, trembling as though holding her heart together. She whispered again, "I was never enough for you, was I?" His silence was louder than any confession. Later that night, Emily sat in her bedroom clutching the ring, her voice trembling. "This isn't love." She remembered the night he proposed, the fairy lights glowing around them, his smile dazzling, his words dripping with promises. Now, those memories felt poisoned. She whispered, "You gave her the same dream." Her tears fell onto the diamond, blurring its shine. She glanced at Mark standing in the doorway, silent, his face unreadable. She asked quietly, "Did you ever mean it?" He shifted, his silence speaking louder than any words. Emily's heart cracked open, the weight of betrayal drowning her, leaving her gasping in disbelief at how love could rot into lies. Emily reached for her phone and called Claire, her voice breaking. "It's true, he's been with her all along." Claire gasped softly. "Oh, Emily." Emily sobbed. "He promised us both forever." Claire's tone was fierce. "You can't let him keep breaking you." Emily whispered, "I don't know who I am without him." Claire's reply was steady. "You'll find out. He's the lie, not you." Emily's breath quivered, tears rolling unchecked. She whispered, "I feel like I'm drowning." Claire's voice softened, "Then let me be the anchor." Emily held the phone tightly, her chest heavy, but a spark of strength flickered faintly within her as truth replaced doubt. Emily sat at the dining table, staring at the unopened box from the delivery days before. Her fingers trembled as she ripped away the paper. Inside was a necklace engraved with initials that were not hers. She whispered, "Not for me." Her heart thudded painfully as she realized Mark had gifts for another woman, intimate tokens of devotion. Mark entered suddenly, his eyes narrowing. "Why are you opening that?" he demanded, his voice sharp. Emily snapped, "Because it's in my house." She held up the necklace, her tears burning. "Who is this for?" His jaw tightened, and he hissed, "You're invading my privacy." Emily laughed bitterly. "Your privacy? This is our life." Silence suffocated the air, heavy with lies. Emily whispered, "You don't even pretend to love me anymore." That night, Emily scrolled through Mark's phone when he showered, her hands icy with fear. She found messages laced with tenderness, promises, and secret plans. The words cut deeper than knives. She whispered, "Forever wasn't mine alone." Mark's footsteps echoed down the hall. She shoved the phone aside, her chest pounding. When he entered, his hair damp, he smirked faintly, checking something. Emily bit her lip, refusing to answer. He leaned closer, whispering, "You should trust me." His words dripped with mockery. She whispered back, "Trust died the day you lied." His eyes darkened. But he turned away, leaving her shaking, clutching her chest. Emily stared at the phone again, realizing every lie she uncovered only revealed more. Emily met Claire at the park the next day, the cool wind biting her cheeks. She whispered, "He's giving her gifts, writing her love letters." Claire's face hardened. "He's not hiding anymore." Emily's voice cracked. "I feel like I don't even exist." Claire grabbed her hands. "Listen, you are more than his lies." Emily's tears spilled as she said, "He turned our home into his cover." Birds chirped faintly around them, mocking her broken peace. Claire's voice was steady. "You need to decide if you're going to stay shattered or fight for yourself." Emily nodded weakly, her soul trembling, but a fire sparked faintly beneath the grief. She whispered, "I'm so afraid of the truth, but I can't keep living blind." Emily returned home to find Mark sitting at the kitchen counter, his phone in hand. He looked up and asked coldly, "Where were you?" She stammered, "With Claire." His tone sharpened, "Spreading lies about me." Emily's chest tightened. "They're not lies," she whispered. He slammed his glass down, liquid spilling across the counter. "I've given you everything, and this is how you repay me?" Emily's tears brimmed, her voice breaking. "You gave her everything too." Silence lingered like a blade between them. Mark's face hardened, the charm long gone, replaced with raw anger. Emily wrapped her arms around herself, trembling, realizing his desperation was growing as his lies unraveled. Late at night, Emily sat on the bathroom floor, her back against the cold tiles. She whispered, "I can't live like this." She clutched her ring tightly until it cut into her palm. The sound of Mark's muffled phone call drifted from the bedroom, words like love and forever leaking through the door. Emily's tears spilled freely, mixing with her whispered sobs. "He's promising her the same lies," she muttered. She pressed her forehead to her knees, shaking violently. The house felt suffocating, every wall echoing betrayal. Yet within the suffocating dark she whispered, "This ends soon." Her voice cracked, but a flicker of steel pierced through the despair. She could no longer ignore the truth clawing at her from every corner. Emily's heart froze when the knock came at the door late at night. She opened it to see the same woman from the photos standing there, eyes sharp, voice cold. "I'm Anna, Mark's fiancée." The world tilted. Emily whispered, "Fiancé?" Anna smirked bitterly. "Yes, he promised me forever." Emily staggered back, gripping the doorway. Mark rushed in moments later, his face drained of color. "Anna, what are you doing here?" he barked. Emily's voice cracked. "She knows everything." Anna shoved a photo toward her, Mark with arms around her, another proposal, another ring. Emily gasped, "You recycled the same lies." Her chest tightened, fury exploding inside her. Mark stammered, "It's not what it looks like." Emily screamed, "Then tell me what it is." Silence swallowed the house, as two women stared at the man who had split their worlds apart. The living room burned with tension as Anna dropped a box of letters onto the coffee table, each one signed with Mark's name. Emily's voice shook, "You gave her the same words you gave me." Anna snapped, "He told me I was the only one." Mark's face flushed red, his voice rising, "Stop twisting everything." Emily shouted, "You twisted it!" Her tears fell hot as she clutched her ring. Anna leaned closer to Emily, her voice cutting. "He's been living with me too, not just you." Emily's chest collapsed, her knees nearly buckling. She whispered, "2 lives." Mark slammed his fist on the table. "Enough!" But his words only echoed louder in the suffocating silence. Both women stared, united in betrayal, divided in pain. Emily's fury erupted, her voice raw. "I gave up everything for you." Mark snapped back, "So did I." Anna's laugh was sharp. "You gave nothing but lies." Mark's hands shook as he tried to reach for Emily, but she pulled away violently. "Don't touch me," she screamed. Anna crossed her arms, her glare burning. "Tell her the truth, Mark." His jaw trembled, his charm broken, his silence damning. Emily whispered, "Did you ever love me?" Mark's eyes darted, unable to answer. The weight of his betrayal crushed the room. Emily stepped back, her breath ragged. realizing the man before her was nothing but a stranger who wore the mask of love. Claire arrived after Emily's desperate call, finding chaos in the living room. She gasped, "Emily, what's happening?" Emily sobbed, "He proposed to both of us." Claire's face hardened with rage as she turned to Mark. "How could you?" Mark shouted. "This is between us!" Claire snapped, "No, you broke her. You don't get to silence me." Emily collapsed into Claire's arms, trembling as Anna stood rigid, tears brimming in her eyes. Claire whispered, "You're not alone in this." Emily clutched her tighter, her voice breaking. "He made me feel like I was." The room throbbed with voices raised, truths uncovered, and pain finally unmasked. Confrontation exploded into chaos. Emily screamed, "You shattered us all." Anna shouted, "You promised me forever." Claire barked, "You're nothing but a coward." Mark's voice broke as he shouted back, "I didn't want to lose either of you." Emily's face twisted in horror. "You lost everything tonight." Her words cut through the air like a blade. Silence fell heavy after the storm of screams. Mark sank into a chair, his head in his hands, his facade destroyed. Emily's tears slowed, her body trembling, but her voice steadied. She whispered, "I'll never forgive you." Anna turned away, her own tears spilling freely. Claire held Emily tighter, her eyes blazing with protective rage. The lies had collapsed, leaving nothing but ruin. The morning after, the house felt like a graveyard. Emily sat at the dining table, her hands wrapped around a cold cup of coffee. Mark sat across from her, his eyes hollow, his face pale. He whispered, "We can fix this." Emily's lips trembled, her voice quiet but sharp. "There's nothing left to fix." Silence pressed down between them, heavy and suffocating. The walls that once carried laughter now echoed with betrayal. Emily glanced at the ring still on her finger, then slid it off slowly, the sound of metal against wood louder than thunder in her ears. She whispered, "This was my dream, and you poisoned it." Mark's eyes welled, but no words came. Emily stood, her body trembling, yet her spine straightened with a strength she hadn't felt before. Emily packed her suitcase in the bedroom, her hands steady now though her heart ached. Each folded shirt felt like reclaiming a piece of herself. Mark leaned against the doorway, voice hoarse, "Don't leave me." Emily whispered, "You already lost me." His shoulders slumped, his mask gone, just a broken man staring at the wreckage he created. Emily zipped the bag, her tears silent but unstoppable. She whispered, "I gave you everything, and you gave me lies." Mark reached for her, but she stepped back, her eyes blazing through the pain. She lifted the suitcase handle and walked past him, each step echoing like thunder, leaving him rooted in silence. Emily stood on the porch with Claire waiting by her car. Claire asked softly, "Are you ready?" Emily wiped her tears, whispering, "No, but I have to be." Claire hugged her tightly, whispering, "You're stronger than you know." Emily exhaled shakily, the suitcase handle firm in her grip. The morning air felt heavy, yet cleansing, the kind that burned but promised renewal. Mark stood inside the doorway watching, his eyes hollow, his body small against the frame. He didn't call out. His silence screamed louder than words. Emily climbed into the car, her chest heavy but her gaze firm. She whispered, "This isn't the end of me." Claire started the engine, and with a rumble, they pulled away from the ruins of Emily's past. Days later, Emily walked through the city streets alone, her coat wrapped tightly around her. She whispered to herself, "I survived." The noise of traffic and chatter around her felt distant, as though she were moving in her own fragile bubble. She paused by a shop window and caught her reflection, eyes tired but filled with new steel. She remembered Claire's words, "You're stronger than you know," and for the first time, she believed it. Emily adjusted her scarf, her steps firmer, her chest aching but not collapsing. She whispered, "I am not his lies." The city lights flickered above her, cold yet promising, as though the world was reminding her that survival was the first step toward reclaiming her life. One quiet night, Emily sat in her new apartment, the city glowing outside her window. She held the ring in her palm one last time. Her whisper filled the silence. You never deserved me. She opened the window and let the ring slip from her hand, watching it vanish into the darkness below. Her chest shook, not from regret, but release. She whispered again, I'm free. For the first time in weeks, her breath steadied, her shoulders lifted, her eyes gazed forward. The betrayal still scarred her, but she was no longer bound by it. The final silence was not heavy. It was liberating, the kind that hummed with the beginning of something new.